So, you're a teacher or tutor, or maybe a stay at home parent, and you're trying to help your child or a student learn math better. Well, you must first know, how do students learn? Stay tuned, we're about to break it down.
It's time for Tip Tuesdays with Dr. Shanna Grant.
Okay, so it's no secret that math is not everybody's favorite subject. But with the best or the right help, students are able to overcome whatever fear they may have of math to get better at it. So there are two ways that students learn, or research shows two ways that students learn. So the first way is what we call instrumental learning. And so instrumental learning refers to when students are accustomed to, as it says, instrumental things. So for instance, you will tell them, first you do this, next you do that, and A, B, C, E, F, G. And so they're dependent on formulas, steps, and those type of things, right? And if you recall in our previous video where we talked about the cycles that students go through when they learn math, you'll recall that we mentioned that there are 4 stages, right? And so in the first stage, right, the action stage, the students are relying on steps. So a student who learns instrumentally or only wants to learn instrumentally is going to be a student who is stuck at the action phase or at the action stage. And so what this means is that the student will actually not be able to master the topic. Now, we do understand that there are some topics that only requires a student learning the formula, of course, right? And then applying that formula. But if a student is not able to apply that formula correctly and it's only reliant on this reading a certain question a certain way and then answering it based on steps that are given, then that student is not going to fully comprehend what that concept is about. So it's important that we, even though recognize that some students will have to be introduced in an instrumental way by giving them different activities and steps on how to attempt a question, we must also be able to teach what we call relational understanding. So that's the second way a student learns, through relational understanding. And so what this means is we're going to be teaching or tutoring in such a way that the student can relate to the topic that we are covering. And so relational understanding is very, very, very important. We are having to know that, okay, a student learns by hearing, a student learns by seeing, a student learns by doing. We will need to know this. But also very important is for us to be able to relate to our students, okay, or a child, right? If they like, let's say, cars, right? You would use questions, or you would try to introduce a topic with questions that are related to cars, because now the student can relate to this concept. And so this is a lot of what we talk about in our professional development when we do it. You have to be culturally aware of your students, what they're accustomed to, so that you can be able to use questions to relate to them and what they are accustomed to, so that you can help to maximize their learning, okay? So again, it's very important that we are able to incorporate relational understanding or relational teaching at that in our sessions or in our classrooms. Now, I will also want to point out that there is a very, very dangerous thing if we have students who learn relationally, and then we're teaching instrumentally, right? Versus if you have a student who learns instrumentally and we're teaching relation. Not that they learn that way, but that's the only thing they're interested in. Many times I'm in the classroom and students are like, oh, just give me the formula. Clearly that student only is interested in passing the class, right? Or cramming is what we would say. Cramming the information in, just reliant on, okay, this is the formula, just apply it to this type of question. Now that student is not trying to master that concept. And of course, this type of studying has it has its purpose, right? And that's, let's say, for instance, if you want to cram to study for, I don't know, the SAT or a major exam, and you're not going to see this ever again in life. Some of our students will say, math, I'm not going to really do this. I just want to be an artist or something, right? But at any rate, it's important that we don't have a mismatch where there are students who are wanting to learn relationally and we're only just giving them formulas and saying, hey, take this formula, plug in the numbers, and that's it. Versus a student who is wanting just a formula and we're like, oh, this is how you need to look at it, right? So we have to make sure we are doing a combination of the two when we are teaching, when we're tutoring, or when we're trying to assist our kids, right? So yeah, two types of ways that students learn, relational and instrumental. And it's very important that we are able to identify which way a student is wanting to learn or learning when we are tutoring, teaching, or just helping out.